Microphone check. What's going on, family? Welcome to Monday Quality Talks, show number 51, indeed. With yours truly, Boddhi Satva. That's right. I know I've been supposed to do the show for a little while now, but may you please forgive me. I've been busy promoting the album. Welcome to all the sisters and brothers watching right now. KOD, thank you so much for tuning in, King. Loving your music. Keep on pushing those good sounds. All right? Don't stop, man. Don't stop. Don't stop. Can't stop. Never stop. Won't stop. Let me first start by wishing you all a very beautiful start of the week. Yes, today's Monday, and as every time I do the show, it is a ritual that I must first and foremost wish you a fantastic week ahead. I know for a lot of people, Mondays are not necessarily the best days, it seems. But as far as I'm concerned, it is an amazing day to just start fresh and really just give a new direction to your week. And talking about directions and starting fresh, I kicked off the month of May on a super high note as far as the amount of energy that I had to give to promote the album, to make sure that Manifestation, my third album due this month, actually in about 2 weeks on June 17th, that this album, actually not 2 weeks, next week actually. Let me check what dates. Too much going on. So June 17th, so actually no, not 2 weeks, 1 week. Exactly, 1 week from now, exactly. In 1 week, my album Manifestation is coming out. And it is such an amazing feeling because I haven't released an album in, I would say at least yeah, about 6 years. So it's an opportunity to really put in motion and articulate some of my visions as far as promoting, marketing this product, which is an independent product at the end of the day. And today's show is really about just sharing with you how I've been going about promoting this album. Technically, I've started since last year, and I've been teasing it. I did a couple of Instagram lives, teasing some of the songs, etc., trying to build up some momentum. And attention span is extremely limited. When you take into consideration the fact that there's just so much information, right? So much information coming out, and there is just obviously a lot to consume. And so you've got to find a way to not be overwhelming, but at the same time be present enough so that you keep people interested. And of course, one of the things that I've been doing was to make sure that I bring you guys together with me along the journey of making this album. And I have to confess, I haven't really done that much on YouTube because the platform is not necessarily as I would say conducive of instant reaction from the subscribers, whereas Instagram is almost instantly, like people get notified and they literally log in, and it's easier, and the interaction is much more I would say intense. And so I think one of the main um, approach to promoting this album, which differs from the rest as far as my take on it, is first of all the experience that I've acquired and the knowledge that I have gathered through the years on how to position myself. And of course, it can always be better. It can always be done differently with more this, more that. But we work with what we have, and I think it's extremely important to value uh, the fact that you working with limited resources is not an impediment to your progress and your capacity to succeed. My entire career, my entire existence as an artist has been paved with working with what I had, which was majority of the time not much. And so when you compare that to those who have all these access to massive fundings and budgets for promotion and having PR this, PR that, which thankfully so, due to the partnership that I have with my business partner and my big brother extraordinaire, Peter Darko, the owner of BBE, with whom we've launched Batakari, which is another sub label to BBE, where we're pushing more Afro House, Afro Beats, etc. Together with my label, we joined force, sorry. And this gave a different dynamic to the whole project because BB has a whole team, and my one-man operation, being the way it is, for a one-man operation, I'm extremely on the money. I am a hard-working guy, and if you don't deliver, it's going to be very hard for me to work with you. So, thankfully, the team that I've had access to with my partnership has helped, not necessarily alleviate weight through the making of this album because I took the whole making of this album on my shoulders, obviously. Whereas a lot of artists would delegate all that to, their labels or managers, etc. I decided to bring along a co-management company that would help me co-manage some aspects of the brand, but technically I'm leading and I'm taking control over everything, even though I am delegating some work. And so I think that my style of doing things is not necessarily for everybody. But if you are a well-rounded independent artist and entrepreneur with a mindset of an entrepreneur, you'll understand the necessity to learn to do as much or as many things as possible by yourself, because delegating has taught me something. Yes, you might delegate to people who are much more qualified than you to do certain jobs, but unfortunately, when you work on a budget and sometimes no budget, people commit but then don't deliver. Why? Because then their priorities start shifting along the way, because then they start feeling a certain way, when initially they've accepted to work according to your conditions and according to your terms. You've got to understand that it's okay, but then you can't really have aspirations of people who can actually afford these services when you clearly can't. And even though along the way you might find a few hard-working soldiers and people who really believe in your talent and your vision and will contribute, even that only lasts for a certain amount of time. And you've got to be able to maximize their contribution for the time that they are with you, so that by the time they decide to move on, or by the time they decide to just go to do other things, you have already created an environment that is safeguarded from anybody leaving your structure or your setting, right? So really understanding how you want to run your business is primordial, because a lot of people think that it's just making the music and putting it out there. It doesn't work like that. it's utterly important, utterly important, and utterly means super important to really emphasize the necessity to organize your work. You've got to put like, you've got to put together a certain amount of plan, and to which you have to try to stick to maximum possible. When you promote an album, make sure that you can do as many things as yourself, as far as by yourself, sorry, as far as you're capable of doing so, is very important, as I said. So what I mean by that, your PR team will require of you photos, professional photo shoots. They will require of you a biography. They will require of you a presentation, some words about the album, what you know, wrote the, what was the inspiration behind the project, etc., etc. So giving as much context as possible to them through that. Providing them with highlight key notes, or key points of this project. Who are featured, who are the people featured on this album, who are the producers that have helped work on the tunes with you, etc., etc. Anything that you see is added value to the PR team that's going to take on your project and try to let the world know, and the medias, etc., the press know about the talent that you are, whether you are a new talent or whether you are already established. It doesn't matter. When you release an album or a project of a certain magnitude, you've got to look at yourself and consider that you're brand new, right? Even though you've been, like myself, for example, 20 years in the game, I'm doing this as if I had just arrived in the game. I don't fool myself. I am sharp and truly aware that this is a moment of absolute humility. You've got to come forth humble and really realize that there is, in your entire career, you're going to see, if you have the chance, like me, to have a rather long career, you'll have very interesting phases that you're going to go through with the fans that, and discover and grow with you. Some people will start, will stop listening to your music because they don't like what you're doing now compared to what you was doing then. Some people will come along the way, start liking you because of other things that you may be doing, like maybe you might be an influencer, you might be, whatever the case may be. People come from different reasons, taking different things from you that, make them feel different. You know what I mean? That provides them with different sorts of feelings, whether it be the music in my case, whether it be my DJing, whether it be, my Monday Quality Talks. I have people, for example, came to the Paris promo show that we did 2 weeks ago, based off Monday Quality Talks. They had never seen me DJ before. And that was very interesting that MQT now also contributes to Boddhi Satva. And understanding that when you develop a brand, a lot of people will not understand what it is you're trying to do. A lot of people will criticize you, will tell you that what you're doing is cheapening what you've been building. You're gonna start looking like all these other YouTubers, etc., as if it was something that was downgrading and devaluing, your brand. And to the contrary, I can clearly say that my YouTube channel is my fastest growing, social media platform, compared to Instagram or Facebook or Twitter or TikTok, etc. Like I have a growth on YouTube that is incredible, and that is facilitated by the shows, by the consistency. Even though yes, it's been a bit difficult for me this past 2-3 weeks to deliver the show because of the promo tour, and I will fly back extremely exhausted. But nonetheless, for example, today, as you know, the show starts at 9:30 p.m. GMT. Well, I started about 45 minutes later, but I'm doing it today, even though I am tired. Even though I was promoting this weekend in London at the BB store, the album, came back exhausted, because it's, all that also takes on your body. And the reason for what I'm saying is, why am I giving you this information, is because if you are an artist, or just in general an entrepreneur, but particularly catering to artists here, you gotta have a drive. You gotta be, consistent and resilient, but also very demanding to yourself. Even though, believe me, there's gonna be days where you feel super tired. You don't have the juice. So, welcome, Veradona. Welcome, welcome. Good evening indeed. Thank you very much for tuning in. As I said earlier, once you've prepared, the tools that your PR team needs, as I said, a biography. A biography is a couple of words about you. Where you're from, what is your heritage, what is your background, what you've been listening to, what you grew up listening to, any key historical moment of your upbringing up until the point you decide to become an artist, and some of your achievements as an artist, as an aspiring, professional artist, etc., or whatnot. Right? If you're a DJ, some of the notable clubs you've played at, some other big DJs you probably played alongside to, or warmed up, opened up for, etc. A nice photo shoot, right? Try not to be too cliche with the turntables and the headphones, and try to be more creative. Try to see what it is that you're vibing with, and within that realm, be creative enough to come together with your photographer with a project that will be attractive to the eye, right? So all of these things are very, very important, very, very, very important. If you notice, for example, my positioning with manifestation, there's a little bit more maturity, obviously. So my styling is going to be a little bit more, not formal, but there's just a different gravitas to my posture and to the way I'm taking things now, because I'm also interested by cinematography. I'm interested by different aspects of art in general, right? As some of you may know, I'm also involved in NFTs. So I'm making sure that my photo shoot can be used for the different aspects of my multiple businesses. And so once you've gathered these elements, biography, a blurb about the project, if it's an album, an EP, whatever, photos, and obviously, a good PR company may charge you anywhere between 2,500 to 5,000 euros or dollars, and that's like entry fee, But you might also find, PR companies that charge you maybe $500. The result might not necessarily be the same, but again, it depends. Some people might be willing to work with you, and this is another thing. You got to be able to talk the PR into working with you. Why should they work with you? What is it that you have extra that the others don't have? Because talent, everybody has talent. But what else do you have? And I think that's another thing that a lot of people fail to understand and realize, is that talent is not enough. Your hard work is what is going to be looked at. Your consistency, your resilience, your creativity, your values. It's very important to have values in this industry, because there's a lot of cutthroat people. It's a very shady, it's a very gangster kind of industry. People will not hesitate to take advantage and fuck with your money, right? And I speak as somebody who has experienced all of that. So, you're all going to have your own experiences, but you have to be very mindful of that. And so let's be very clear that we understand that once you decide to take a PR team, because the only moment when you should have your PR team together is once your album is ready. You have the album cover, and that's another thing. Not only do you need the photo shoot, but you need the album cover. All these artworks, all these elements need to be delivered to the PR team. So it means that you need to have these prior to you contacting your PR team. So you need to have all of this already ready so that when you reach out to the PR team, you'll be like, hey guys, I got this project. I've seen that you promoting this and that artist that are kind of similar to what I'm doing, or I'm kind of doing similar things to them. You might be interested in working with me. Check out my work. Boom, they contact you back, or somebody reference you. It doesn't matter. Point is, you need to be organized. You need to have your shit together. And once you do, then it becomes a bit smooth, a bit more smooth, and you'll see that, okay, the PR team will do one job, but then your job doesn't stop when you give them everything. You gotta be on top of them. You gotta text them. You gotta be regularly every week asking for meetings or asking to get emails, feedbacks, what's going on, and you yourself, you gotta be on top of your game, interacting, creating, content that's gonna be attractive and interesting for your fans, or people who appreciate your work. What it is that you're gonna give them, right? How are you gonna entice them to get into your music and the future music you're about to release? One of the things that I've done is that I released a couple singles before the album that's coming out next week. My third album, as a matter of fact. I teased them with some remixes, with some bootlegs, I'm giving you guys as many things to keep you entertained as a build up to the album. So much so that people thought I was already dropping the album before. It was interesting, but before I dropped the album, I already released 15 songs, right? It'll be more than 15 songs actually. And some people might say, "Oh, this is too much." But the point is that it's not a question of it's too much. It's just that that's just the way people consume music now. I guarantee you, if I'm asking you what were you listening to last Tuesday, you probably won't remember. Unless you were in a specific situation, you won't remember. Just as if I was to ask you if you remember the last thing that you scrolled through 3 hours ago. You might not remember. So you've got to be aware that, just because you're posting things, doesn't mean that people will see. So you got to be on top of your content, making sure that you post regularly, that you post interesting stuff, that you interact with people, that you're not scared to go and reach out, and you know what I mean. And with that being said, that's pretty much what I've been doing, and I used to have a graphic designer, but because she got super busy with massive contracts, I realized I said, okay, I can't depend on only her does the designs that I like. So fuck it, I'm just gonna do it myself. So I'm doing a lot of shit myself. A lot of the things that you see being posted is done by me. I've learned, that's what it is. And I have a certain aesthetic, I have a certain way I like things to be done. So why not, doing it myself? And I think that's an important quality to have, and to not be scared by what others may think, just like I'm designing my own album covers, except this one for Manifestation. My third album dropping on June 17th. This was an album cover that was shot and designed by my good friend and brother from another, Omar Vitor Job. So once I hit the month of May, that was the month that we had to start with the promo. Hardcore. So, we dropped some singles, and we hit you guys with was a nice set of promos. I prepared together with my PR team, in advance, as well as fellow promoters and club partners such as the Jude, for example. So when we did Paris 2 weeks ago, we had already planned 3 months ago that we were going to do these dates. So you build up, right? So you start teasing people, and right before I got to Paris, I went to Ibiza for one gig on a Tuesday night for the good guys of Voyage. We did Ibiza, helped promote the album a little bit, which was everything. In other words, every opportunity you have is an opportunity for you to promote your work. And you don't have to be super in your face if that's not your style. I'm not super in your face. That's not really my style. I'm not gonna be like absolutely trying to pitch my album. You gotta read the room. You gotta see how you can be smart about it, how you can, suggest it in an intelligent way without it being overwhelming and people looking at you like kind of like cringy. You want to make sure that you approach this whole thing very intelligently. Um, but develop your own style, whatever it may be. I can't really define that for you. But mine is just one that I'm just telling you about, which is subtlety, elegance, and knowing when to place it. But place it no matter what, one way or the other. The project, let people know about it, being smart in your phrase construction so that your sentences are built in a way that allow you to build up for including the album or the conversation about the album so that it can trigger interest. These are very, it's a bit technical, but it's part of, studying thoroughly, the people that you're going to be interacting with. And in this particular case, we had, a series of medias that were scheduled to be done. My PR in France, Ekia Badou, is amazing. She does fantastic job. She's promoted 6 years ago my second album, Transition. Got me again some great TV interviews and massive radio interviews, such as the cover picture for today's show is, the show that I did with Claude Siard on his radio show called Couleur Tropicale, which is streamed live, etc. So great content, very, very, very interactive and just good vibes overall. Then the next day I did, France 24, France 24, which is like the French equivalent to CNN. And boom, here you go. Creating this content, creating this visibility, doing the African news anchor. Then the next day, radios. So all of these things help create awareness. But a lot of the time, you need to also prepare for the fact that even though you've paid your PR for them to organize these things for you, you've got to make sure that you've arranged maybe a show so that it can also help introduce your work, right? So work out a deal with a club. So we had the show on the Saturday. So I arrived on Tuesday afternoon in Paris. Sorry, Wednesday afternoon. That night I had when I arrived, just a couple of hours later, I had a massive radio interview with Claude Siard. And that Saturday I had the June, which was organized to be album presentation from 8 to 10 p.m. and then from 10 p.m. to early morning we'll do the party. So I had Carlos the Chameleon, my good brother Sifa, Oli, my brothers came through, and we just had a nice time, right? So the idea is building up momentum, both with the media but also with your fans and people who appreciate your work, and letting them know where they can meet you so that you can give them that experience of the album and let them have a direct interaction with you so that they can ask you questions about the project, or that you can at least or give them context around the album. That's why I'm doing these release parties, and I'm doing the third and probably the last one in Lisbon this Friday, for example. Why the last one? Because the album coming out next week. We might be doing some listening sessions, along the way, probably Amsterdam, maybe Brussels. But yeah, with that being said, the idea is to create momentum, and with that momentum you create, even if it's in a very specific area of the world, you start creating. If you post and advertise about it, you start creating visibility for that, for your other territories, because you have to remember, not everything that what you do in one area is not going to impact another. You might be doing a TV show or radio show in South Africa. You don't know. That might trigger an interview or an invitation to be interviewed on a radio show in Holland, for example. You never know. You never know what is what. This is a very connected world. So don't underestimate the the power of just connecting and linking all your network and letting them know about your actuality. It's super important. Super important. Um, you also got to remember that when you start traveling, when you start working on your promo tour or your promo journey, you got to also work on your promo budget. So when you travel, you got to make sure that you have your hotels booked, right? You got to book a hotel if you have a friend or somebody can stay at their place. Cool, you do that. But then you got to make sure you got your money for transportation, you got your money for food, you got your money for any extras. Sometimes you might be in a situation where you might have to invite 1 2 person at the restaurant or something. You know, then you gotta have that cash. You gotta prepare a couple of things. You gotta really prepare a couple of things and be aware that um, this business requires a lot of sacrifices, more than you may imagine, and a lot of the time you may not necessarily have the financial strength, but you gotta make it happen because it's otherwise it's not gonna happen. So you make it happen with or without the capacities, you gotta make it work. There's no other ways. There's no other ways, right? So that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you, guys. As I said, I've started 2 weeks ago promoting thoroughly the album on ground, starting with Paris, where we did like all these great medias. I'm going to be uploading on the channel here the interviews and so on. Most of them are in French, but then we're also working on the Anglophone ones as well coming up. Um, then this past weekend now, I was just in London, the BBU store. We did the album listening and pre-release party, um, which went very, very well. And even though it was not crazy packed or anything like that, and that's another thing, right? You gotta consider that it's almost like my good friend Buddy gave me this example today. Said we are almost like politicians on a campaign. It's like it's one person at a time. You're really going about this one person at a time. So it doesn't matter if there's 30 people or 20 people coming to the event that you putting together for them to discover the album, your album, or 500. The idea is you're touching one person at a time, and that builds the momentum. You know, being there in front of 1,000 people to listen to the album, you lose the intimacy as well. You know, um, and that's why it's important for you to realize that there's not always necessarily great conversion in big numbers. Yes, it might be good because it brings money at the bar if you have a deal like that with the venue you're working with. But let's say you work a partnership, with the venue where they give you the space for you to do your listening party and you say, look, it's open to anyone who wants to come and experience the thing. Or you did like what I did in Paris where it was like RSVP. Give them a link. There's no fee at the door, but you need to RSVP, right? To still be able to control and know and have an idea of the amount of people that would have. And we had about 60 people that came through, and it was a great time. Same thing for London. So again, understand that you gotta put in the work, you gotta put in the sweat, you gotta put in the necessary energy and resources, which are a lot related to finances. And that is the part that a lot of people uh, fail to realize. This industry, this business that we're in, um, requires a lot of investment. That's why, I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. When I hear these like business angels and all these bullshit of supposed investors, who invest in artists. First of all, uh, I've seen that really working more for painters and sculptors and you know artists like that. But us musicians, is we are 9 times out of 10 considered as clowns and part of the decoration. There's nothing prestigious, unfortunately, in the eyes of many, for us artists. Unless you manage to break through and become like a freaking, I don't know, Dr. Dre, Nicki Minaj, or whatever, or Drake, name it, Kanye West. Then yes, okay, but um, not everybody will have this kind of preference. Not everybody wants to, um, how do you say? Not everybody wants to be at that kind of level, but still want to have some sort of impact and and still be supported by their fans or potential sponsors. Oh man, Lehonolo Makoti, what's going on, brother? Thank you for being here this weekend in London at the BB store. I appreciate you, King. Appreciate you very much. Manifestation indeed. Thank you to you and your lady for your presences. It was absolutely appreciated. And yes, sir. Thank you for the donation. I appreciate it a lot. Thank you. And so, you see, when you hear about, for example, people having like sponsors, etc., I really, unless you, and especially when you're making the kind of music that I'm making, even though it's great music and it's music that has potential to break through, etc. It's hmm, it's still not attractive to some people, and God knows that there are a lot of people that are listening, that are dancing to my work, and so a lot of my other colleagues' work. But um, when you approach some of these people with the money, you're like, look, come on, let's do this, and they just look at you like you speaking Chinese or something. And and every time somebody comes to me and say, hey, I want to invest money, I'm telling them straight up. I said, look, I've been long enough in this business to know that the money that I've invested in my career in 21 years is more than anything you can put on the table. The money that I've spent on myself is in the millions. If I was to make that money that I spent on me, I'd be a multi-millionaire probably now. Well, exaggerating a little bit, but yeah, about that. I'm telling you, I spent more than I made. Spent more than I made financially. However, I have managed to create the impact, on a humane level, etc., etc., etc. But that doesn't pay the bills necessarily. Now, don't get me wrong. Human currency is your most important currency. But in the end, you've got to also understand that you need to be organized in a way so that you have your stream of income that is secured, that is, yeah, regular. And so that when things are a little bit more complicated, you can breathe. You have your head above the water, or you can probably even just be swimming and be comfortable. Even though you might not be crazy, but you're cool. And that's one of the things that COVID taught a lot of us, right? Had you not already known that. And so financial literacy is very important, but also being very clear. When you ask for people to invest money, they're not going to see that money back. It's extremely rare. So it's pretty much a donation. It's an act of huh, there's a word for that that's a bit more sophisticated. Patronage. No, it's like you're just such a fan of the artist that yeah, you have some bank. Like, look, I want to give you a push. So here you go. Boom. There's money. Do what you need to do. You know. But the problem is that there's a lot of artists that are going to be using this money to go and buy some fucking, high fashion shit with it. Like, okay, I understand fashion looks is all part of it, but like, That's another thing. You gotta prioritize and know how to balance. That's why for example, I'm not a fashionable guy, but I'm about style and elegance. And I created my own equilibrium, you know, between these things. And yeah, if there's some fashionable things that I like that are going on now, and I feel like I can include them in my style, I'll do that. But it's never going to be about being present, this and that and the other. No. But again, everybody has their tastes, right? And their preferences. So to each their own. But the things that if you're able to have enough people believing in your work that they want to invest, or she or he wants to invest in your, or they want to invest in your work, then you have to honor that investment by making sure that, yeah, even though they know and they're in the know that they're not going to see that, they're never going to see that money back, but the product of what will result, the resulting product of that investment needs to be palpable, needs to be something that truly reflects, your commitment to honor that trust. Yeah, and even though you might use some of that money for your personal usage, that's fine, but you still got to deliver, because that delivery will allow you to unlock other doors and make them feel comfortable that, okay, this girl or this guy knows exactly what she or he is doing. Cool. Next time I have some dough that I can put in your pocket, I'll hook you up because I know you need it. But we are in an industry of appearance. We are in an industry of let me appear as, and it's okay, it's normal. That's all part of the game. Fair enough. But the bottom line is, we are in an industry within the art world. Music is the least respected, especially electronic music and especially Afro house. Is not necessarily as respected and as considered as bankable. Even though a lot of people come and draw inspiration from us and make the money, it feels like it's very it's a commodity. It's not important. And this is a very humbling realization that reminds you that in the end, it's okay. It's okay because you know what? You're better off doing it yourself. So again, when there's a will, there's a way. You know, if you focus on your goal, doesn't matter how you get to it, but you will get to it. You know, have faith in yourself, have faith in the creator, in the universe, whatever you want to call this energy, whatever you want to call all of that. Have faith in yourself, have faith in your capacity to do it. Have faith, trust. Even though there are moments you're gonna have doubts, you want to give up. Believe me, I had those not so long ago. Even, come on, it's heavy, it's hard. Smile. You're not always willing to smile. You're tired. I guarantee you right now, I'm exhausted, guys. But I'm doing the show because I feel like, okay, first of all, I haven't done the show as I was supposed to these past couple of weeks. But also because I feel like, okay, cool. I also want to share with you my progress with the album, and as I'm building up, and that's also a promotion of the album. What I'm doing right now by sharing valuable information to with you. I'm also creating awareness around what I'm doing. So again, you gotta be able to give, because giving is being of service to others, and giving is one of the biggest reward ever. Because when we leave this reality, when we stand for us to transition to the other form of life, or whatever, or maybe just dying, that's it, to no longer be here physically, what are we going to leave behind? That's the question we want to ask ourselves, and that question I have the answer, and that's why I'm sharing what I'm sharing with you guys. And again, a great plan is a plan that is organized, thought of, but also that is adaptable, because there's always going to be backlashes, there's always going to be counter forces, there's always going to be things that don't work out as initially planned. Um, so you've got to be flexible. You've got to be able to adapt. You know, can't work against the flow. It's never gonna be, beneficial to you. Never work with the flow. Of course, it's not comfortable. It's not supposed to be. It is not supposed to be. And another thing, now before I wrap up today's show, you gotta have a great health and a great um, regiment. As far as I'm concerned, I've not been eating healthy. I've been, eating fast. You're traveling, you're tired, sleeping very, very little hours. And I can tell for a fact my body is, even though I have my food supplements, you know, um, I know because enough in tune with my body to know that my body is not really reacting and feeling comfortable because I'm not giving it enough rest time. So, you know, I'm consciously deciding, okay, cool. I'm gonna give you the time. I am giving you the time. Actually, I decided I'm gonna start it this week. You know, as far as food is concerned, I am gonna go on my, you know, intermittent fasting and drinking water, doing a cleansing, very important, and just preparing for the next phase because, for example, Friday I have Lisbon. I'm going to be doing the album release listening party in Lisbon this Friday. Thanks. And then the next day on the 11th, I'm in Holland in Rotterdam for the Yardbird Festival. Then I fly back on Sunday. Um, and then the following week I'm in Paris again. On the 7th, on the 17th. Yes, exactly. So on the day of my album release, I'm gonna be in Paris because the next day I'm doing a radio takeover, Rinse FM, with We Do Miel. So you see, all these things you've gotta really structure yourself to, keep your head, you know, balance your feet well grounded, and stretch, workout. This shit, I haven't been doing that the way I was supposed to, but I'm gonna be doing that this week. I feel it. I feel like because of all the things that I went through these past couple of months, including losing my mother, a couple of months, 4 months ago, um, I've not been able to regain the kind of routine that I had with my daily workouts, etc. Because it's just not been possible. It's been just too much. But at a certain point, you gotta regain control. So I have to consciously decide that okay, I'm taking back control over the situation, and I am going to be making sure that I look after myself because I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to be out of shape. I want to be, you know, mentally tired. You know, when I know exactly what to do not to be. And this applies to me, but it applies to all of us. We need to take care of ourselves. Take a moment just to chill, just to relax, you know. And priority has to be given to you solely. I'm not saying that you should forget about the other people around you in your life, etc. But bottom line is, you got to think about yourself. You got to think, especially in these kind of phases, you are the focus. You are the priority. And you got to be able to give your 100%. But you cannot give your 100% if you're not, kind to yourself. So, yeah, guys, thank you, KOD. I'm glad that, this is ringing a bell, and also Veradona and anyone else watching. Um, yeah, of course, man. It's important. There's just so many people that don't want to give a blueprint. Um, but I don't see the point. I don't see the point. Sharing is it's great because you're always gonna do it the way you want to do it. It's never exactly gonna be the way I advise you. So you gotta develop your own style, but you gotta really care about yourself and take care of yourself. It's important. So with that being said, I'm gonna take my own advice and apply it to myself. And wish you all a fantastic rest of your week. And thank you for your beautiful support. And yeah, guys, I'll see you next week. Yo. God bless.